Hello, Happy New Year! Now, for the last 8 weeks, I've made YouTube videos presenting some of my Sudoku compositions, but I've kind of run out of those. So I thought instead I would show you some musical compositions, and then I thought, no, I'm going to dive right into the deep end and try something that I've kind of imagined trying for many years now, but never quite been brave enough to do, and that is to record the composition process. Now, obviously, this could go one of many ways because I promise I haven't started recording with an idea in mind. This is completely fresh, live composing and thinking. I'm not quite brave enough to live stream it just yet, but maybe at some point in the future. But anyway, I'm going to record for about an hour, see what happens, and then the idea is that I probably won't have a finished piece of music by the end of this hour. That would be a very quick composition. I'm hoping it will be a series over the next few weeks, and I'm hoping I'm going to be disciplined enough to edit these videos down so that they're not the full hour. As interesting as it might be to see all of my thought processes and all of the ideas that get thrown away. So yes, I'm going to compose something. That's it. That's literally the only specification that I put on myself, and I'm going to try and start now. Now, I'm aware that probably one of the biggest problems I'm going to face is that the pressure of being on camera is going to make me find decision making extremely difficult. So, I thought I would go for a string quartet. I genuinely have no plans of what the music's going to be like. I'm going to go for a string quartet because I'm not, well, compared to a full orchestra, I'm not going to have too many difficult decisions about, should I put this line in the oboes or the glockenspiel? I've only got four choices, and they're all very similar choices anyway because they're all string instruments. So it's likely that if I want a low note, I'll put it in the cello, and a high note in the violins, and so on. All right, and now I suppose I just need to decide on. I mean, this is completely the wrong way around to do this. I would never advise any of my composition students to plunge into a composition like this. But I'm going to make something so that I've got a canvas on which to start, and then I'll start having some ideas. In fact, no. Let's do some editing. Let's use the magic of video editing, and I'm going to play around on the piano, which is right here, by the way, and have some ideas, hopefully. So back in a bit. Okay, so I've thought of an idea I like, and I'm just going to go for it because this series is definitely going to be about just going for it as soon as I've got an idea. And it's going to be something to do with having the violin ones and the cellos playing the same thing, but like at least 2 octaves apart. So we've got that really big space between them, and it's going to be something energetic, or probably even more energetic than I was just improvising then. Let's give it a go. So we'll go for 4/4 for now. Tempo text, I don't know, energetic, why not? I won't bother with a key signature, we'll just put no key. Title, I think title is probably the last thing I want to put in, so I'll just put title for now. And composer, my initials will do. Right, energetic. So let's just play around with some tunes to work out exactly what notes we're going to have in the violin ones and cellos. I think we're going to start on what's a kind of harsh note? What's the most harsh note? What a strange question. Question doesn't really make sense, but I like C sharp. I like C sharp. Let's go with C sharp. So it's going to be really high up there, and should we go? How many octaves is that? That's 4 octaves apart. There isn't really much room for manoeuvre. Is there? No, I like that. We'll go with that to start off with, and see how extreme we can make it. I also want this very first note. Let's make it a quaver, and let's make it put a big accent on it. SFZ. Good. And we'll copy it into the violin twos. and violas, they can play it in octaves, because that's not too difficult a stretch. It's just well, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's in a comfortable position for the violas, whereas it wouldn't be if we did nope, if we did that. For the violin ones, that's not a particularly comfortable starting note. Okay, right, give me a minute then, and I'll think of what the next few notes are going to be. Okay, so kind of out of nowhere, this has turned into a 12-tone composition. So a 12-tone composition is basically where you create a tune or riff or section of music using all 12 available tones. So C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, and B. So I guess that could be what we do then. This could be a 12-tone piece. Does that mean I want to repeat this riff? Honestly, I don't think that's a good idea, because then it could get very boring very quickly, and very cheesy. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably repeat the riff in terms of the notes, but change the rhythm. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. And I'll just keep repeating. Yeah, I'll keep repeating this riff. Yeah, I'll have a think. I'll have a think, and I'll get back to you. But yes, something like this is going to be going on in the violin one and the cello, and then in between, there can be some kind of chorale style calming chordal thing going on in the voices. But I don't want to introduce that just yet. I want to introduce one idea at a time, and the first idea is this energetic thing going on around the outside. So yes, let me play around with rhythm, and I'll be back shortly. Alright, so I've just realised, if I edit this in the way that I think I'm probably going to end up editing this, or at least I hope I do, then I don't think you will have heard this piece yet. So let's just give it a listen. In fact, I'll just copy and paste this down into the cello part, because yeah, the best compositions are the ones where you can just copy and paste stuff. No, that's a lie. Let's give this a listen, see what you think. I think it's probably a little bit too fast. And at the moment it's sounding quite bare as well. Let's make it 120. Hopefully that will be changed. I was hoping this would be a really. I'm now questioning my decision to go down the whole 12-tone route, because it's not very striking. The most striking kind of listen to this piece of music type motifs and themes are the ones that are just like one or two notes, like Beethoven's Fifth, for example. Like that grabs your attention in four notes, and it's actually only two notes because three of the notes are the same. So I'm not sure this is really attention grabbing in the way I want it to be. So I might evaluate that in due course, but let's just give it one more listen at 120 beats per minute, see if that's any better. Yeah, this isn't attention grabbing in the way that I thought it would be. I'm gonna listen to it, and I'm gonna find. I'm gonna try and decide which bit I like the most in terms of catchy, memorable motifs, thematic motifs, and then I'll probably just focus on that and not worry too much about the whole 12-tone thing. So yes, see you in a moment. Okay, I think I've got an idea of how I want it to be. So I think these four notes are the most attention grabbing. I've just changed it slightly there. So instead of ba da ba ba I'm making the last two notes slightly higher. Ba-da-ba-ba. It's very similar to BACH, which is Bach's signature melody. In German, B is a note that we call B flat. Then A is the same, C is the same, and this note, which we call B natural, they call H, so B-A-C-H, which is kind of what I've done there, except just down a semitone. So it's a very effective motif. Bach was very lucky to be called Bach. Right, yeah, okay, so what I'm going to do, it seems a shame, but this is kind of what composers do, the best ones, the most brutal ones. I'm going to delete pretty much everything I've done. It was good experimenting, but I'm just going to keep this bit, and I've got an idea of how I want it to interact with itself and with this kind of stab chord of C sharps that we have in the beginning. So yes, back in a moment. I've just remembered my camera, I've put that in the bottom left of the screen, haven't I? Sorry, not bottom left, bottom right of the screen. So you can't see this keypad that's been hiding away underneath the whole time. I'll move it up to here, which I don't think I'm covering. I can't actually see which area of the screen I'm covering at the moment, the way that I'm recording. But hopefully you can see it now. So what I did just there is I scrolled through these tabs and I found this tab, which has the option of this, which is staccatissimo, which is like staccato, which is a detached kind of short choppy note, but even choppier, basically. So that's what I'm aiming for with this. Nice extremes. It's all about extremes when you're trying to grab attention. All right, right, I'll carry on then. Okay, so as you can probably tell, what I'm doing is I'm kind of playing with this, the interplay between this very aggressive motif and silence. I say as you can probably tell. If you can read music, then you absolutely can. If you can't, then basically all of these things, they're just rests. These are all just rests. It's all just silence. So the only times when notes are happening is in this section, and then there's a big gap, and then, well, I'll just play it to you. So it's a kind of jumpy, jerky kind of texture where it kind of something's there's the seeds of something quite aggressive and dark, hopefully, but it's just kind of breaking out of its eggshell at the moment, and I guess the piece could be all about the development of this creature that's currently breaking out of its eggshell. That's quite a nice metaphor. Maybe that can be something that I think about when I come to the title later. Anyway, what I want to do eventually is incorporate this back in at some point. Maybe there. Oh no, not 8 of them. Let's get rid of them. I don't want it to feel like it's in 4/4. Oh yes, that's another good point. I'm writing this in 4/4, and I'm with the texture the way it is at the moment. I'm not planning to change it from 4/4, and the reason for that is not because I want it to be felt in 4/4. I don't want the listeners to go, oh yeah, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or anything like that. It's just going to be easier to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and just come in at odd times in the bar, rather than count odd time signatures and odd bars and come in on the first beat of an odd bar. Yeah, I want it to feel like these gestures are coming in at unexpected, weird times. So I guess I just have to find, artificially find ways of making it sound random. I guess I could use number generators or something like that. Anyway, I'll think of it and come back to you in a little while. Yeah, I'm being a little bit inconsistent with whether I'm using P or F. You might want to know my thought process behind that. There's no you know specific kind of, oh, I want exactly this number of decibels from each of the players or anything like that. I think it's easy to think that composers have that kind of thought process and need every tiny detail to be exactly perfect to fit their perfect vision of what the piece should sound like. Um, I'm not doing that. Basically, I've put FF at the start because I want it to be clear to the performer. This is loud. This is aggressive. And when it's just F, so a P to F. Sorry, I should clarify. FF means very loud. F means loud. P means quiet. PP would mean very quiet. MP is medium quiet. MF is medium loud, and so on. So yes, when I just want to have a kind of contrast between P and F, I've only written P and F, and I'm leaving it up to the performer to decide how extreme they want to go, and they would probably naturally think, yeah, let's make this extreme. Let's make this an extreme quiet and an extreme loud. So I don't really need to write this because that just clogs up the page. So I don't want to watch. I don't want to write that. I think the composers, because the performers can interpret that as there's a rapid change between quiet and loud. So the extremes need to be brought out basically. So let's just copy and paste that down here and see how that all sounds. Yeah, I like it. I mean, it sounds a bit rubbish on the Sibelius playback, but yeah, with a little layer of imagination on top to try and think of a live string quartet performing this, I think this is all right. It's developing in the way that I want it to develop. I think. Um, yeah, and then I think what I want to do with this moving forwards. How are we doing? I've been at this for about 45 minutes. So I think for the remaining 15 minutes, what I'm going to try and do is keep going with this for another few bars, and then introduce what the inner two strings are going to be doing, the violin 2 and the viola, while all of this madness is going on outside. Which at the moment in my head is going to be this kind of calm chordal chorale thing, this kind of eerie, something that sounds almost nursery rhyme like. Maybe I could actually use nursery rhymes. That's not a bad idea. Just really slow, eerie nursery rhymes that are undermined by this weird riff going on above and below it. Yeah, I'll do some experimenting and see what happens. Okay, so I've come up with an idea of what can be going on in the middle of the texture. To be honest, I'm not sure I'm a fan of it because it's going to be in the same register as the violin ones, and so it's going to kind of get in the way of it. If this was all down an octave, I think that would be fine. Maybe I could move this down an octave actually. That's that's not a terrible idea. So and these, right, okay, these are harmonics. I'll write it like this. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it, and then I'll get rid of all of this instruction. Okay, so basically what this means is the strings are playing a harmonic, which is I'm sure there are millions of videos explaining what string harmonics are, but basically it's a way of touching the string rather than pressing it down, so that you get a much higher note than you would do if you pressed it down. It's all to do with physics and stuff. There are much better videos explaining all of that. Right, let's give this a listen, and what I'm listening out for specifically is how much, and obviously we can't tell perfectly because this is a computer playback rather than a live recording. But I'm going to listen specifically to how much this clashes with with this tonally and registrally. So we'll go a little bit back. Let's go to not all the way to the beginning. Let's go to here. Okay, so I think that was fine. I think that was fine. I mean, you hardly heard this in a bit, but that's kind of how I want it to be anyway. Um, what I have an issue with is that um, so I basically copied and pasted a lot of these violin one and cello bars from earlier on in the piece because I just want to continue this idea of random um, outbursts based on this motif. So I just carried on with random outbursts that I'd already made earlier. But as it happened, this random outburst is all based on A. It's copied and pasted from over here, where I think it works quite well. But here, it sounds like it's actually joining in with this because this kind of creates an A major chord. And so having an A with that, I don't want the violin one and cello music to sound like it's joining in. It should be a completely different thing to whatever's going on in the middle. And I don't want there to be any harmony going on between them. So that's quite an easy fix. We'll just find other random segments of this motif that don't fit as nicely with the A major chord. And that B as well, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so I'll just fill in the violin one and cello parts. Have I played this bit yet on its own? Let's just play this on its own, so you hear what this sounds like. So what I've done is I've used the violas to create this very airy, floaty atmosphere, which you get through the use of harmonics, and the violin 2 has got a tune type thing that's a more kind of tonal and pleasant version of this motif that I've got from the beginning. So instead of that nice and aggressive tone there, it's just it's based on the same idea, but yeah, it's just completely transformed into something pleasant. So yes, I'm going to fiddle around with the outer parts. I shouldn't say that on YouTube. And we will see if we can make this not sound like it's nice, basically. All right. I think I'm fairly happy with that. It's a weird process trying to compose something to make it deliberately sound random, and you have to make human conscious decisions on where is the best place to make something sound like a random outburst. It's it seems very contradictory, but anyway, that's the challenge of a composer. Well, one of the many. I think I'm quite happy with how this has started. I've just finished editing the video, and you'll thank me, I managed to cut out like at least 10 minutes of repetitive waffle towards the end. So I thought I'd come back and record some more considered waffle to replace it. By which I mean some honest thoughts about this project, and also about my situation regarding composition in general. Because, to be brutally honest, I haven't composed music in a really long time. And that's kind of a bad confession to make for someone who calls himself a composer. I mean, I've recorded music, I've done a lot of like audio composition and sound production type stuff. But I think because I spent so much of my 2 degrees, hair flick, doing this kind of written composition, I've kind of escaped that, and that's the thing that I did in my degrees. So I've moved on to other things since then, and psychologically, I found it really difficult to come back to this. Just writing notes on a page, but I really want to because it's what I'm good at. It's something that I do think I am good at, and it's what I always imagined that I would do when I grow up. For a lot of my upbringing and education. Um, so it's something I've wanted to get back into, and for that purpose, doing something like this, what I've done today, I think is a really great idea. Just plunging back into it and just doing something. It's like when you're trying to get fit. You don't wait for the perfect moment when you are magically feeling inspired and energetic and ready to leap off the sofa and run 5 miles in half an hour. You can't do that. You just have to get outside, run 100 yards, come back, give yourself a pat on the back, and then do the same again the following day until eventually you're building up. And that's exactly what I've done here. It's far from perfect, but it's something, and I think something is better than nothing. As for my honest critique on the music itself, I think this has really suffered from a lack of a plan. And the whole point of this was that there was no plan. There's no structure that I've thought of, or no idea that I want to represent in musical terms or anything like that. The whole point was there was no plan. But if one of my composition students presented something like this to me, I would be berating them. I would just say, "What on earth are you doing? Why are you bringing me this? You've clearly got no plan, no idea of where it's going. There's no sense of direction, no structure. What is it representing? What does it even mean?" So, okay, maybe I wouldn't put it in quite such harsh words, but yeah, it needs a plan. It needs some kind of structure, some kind of idea of how to move forward. And so I think for that reason, if I do continue this series, which I would love to do next Friday, I think I might have to cheat a little bit and have some of my composition thought process between now and next Friday, and hopefully come up with some kind of ideas of a more broad structure. It's difficult to think about long-term structures when you're under pressure of being on camera. So yeah, and it's something. It's an idea that's been written down, and that makes it a good piece of progress. But as it is, it's very possible that once I actually come up with an idea, come up with a plan, come up with a structure, maybe all of this will go next week. We'll see. That's the life of being a composer. But anyway, I will finish off by playing what I've got so far, and I hope you appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. Here it is. Title. Yeah, in my defense, I think a lot of the dynamics and the articulation would be so much more vibrant if it was performed by humans rather than a computer. Um, but but yeah, you work with the tools that you're given. What's the phrase? Something like that. It's a good start. We'll see how this develops next week, I suppose. It's a mystery to all of us. I guess we'll see. Um, Please do leave a like if you're feeling generous, and feel free to comment down below with ideas of what I can do moving forward, or thoughts on what we've got so far. Thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely week. See you next Friday.